Are we live, Sam? Oh, great. So welcome everyone to the another panel discussion where we have a great panelist to talk about decentralized internet. I mean, of course, nothing new, right? We are talking about this from a long time, Web3, blockchain, decentralized internet, new internet in that terms. And then we'll be having some interesting discussion today because we have great speakers, but then we might be having some debate, but let's keep it cool. And so we'll start with the round of introduction. We have some great panelists. We'll start with you, Carmen. If you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Carmen and I'm the head of marketing at Alchemy Pay. I joined Alchemy Pay last year and have been working on the growth of Alchemy Pay's overall marketing and brand identity. So working behind the scenes, we're launching a new website and a lot of a new brand look in the next 2 months or so. So it's really exciting. And yeah, I've just been focusing on trying to expand our global presence and crypto adoption in the payment space through partnerships and integrations with other industry leaders such as Binance, Polygon, Near, and Neo, of course, which all have expanded our position in the blockchain space. And previous to joining Alchemy Pay, I was running my own consultancy and working very close with startups. And I also had my own podcast sharing the stories of founders and all things entrepreneurship related.
That's great. And this exciting time, right, Carmen, working on the blockchain technology, things are moving so fast. And I can see the excitement on your face. Awesome.
Yes, it is. It's a very fast-paced industry, that's for sure. You won't get bored.
Awesome. Next, we have Alex. Alex, if you can introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Alex Barutsky. I'm co-founder of IME. IME is a messenger based on API of Telegram. We are like a top player of Telegram. And we also have a crypto wallet, non-custodial one. It's fully non-custodial crypto wallet, and it allows you to send crypto directly in your chat without asking the wallet address of your grandmother. We are like Telegram on steroids. We are like very easy, very simple and very native way to start with crypto. And besides that crypto wallet, we also have more than 20 killer features Telegram doesn't have, like translation, like donation system for content creators, for owners of the channels in Telegram groups, and also we have crypto boxes. And we have DeFi features and DEXs integrated. We have PancakeSwap integrated, Uniswap integrated, 1inch is coming. And regarding blockchains, we have Ethereum, Binance, Avalanche, and Polkadot is coming. And also we have Polygon. So that's like me. It's a huge ecosystem with more than 50 different partners.
Oh, that's great. And whoever came up with that term, the Telegram on steroids, awesome. So that's a good way of starting the production.
Actually, this name wasn't invented by me or by someone from our team. It was invented by some people from India who named our application as a Telegram on steroids.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I'm from India, so I can relate. Great. Next we have is Steven. Steven, if you can introduce yourself.
Hello everyone. This is Steven. I'm the head of development team in Neo blockchain. And our team is mainly focused on the Neo blockchain protocol and infrastructures, also DApps on Neo. And welcome everyone. And I'm very glad to have this panel with you guys.
Oh, that's great, Steven. Thank you so much. Next we have is Benson.
Yeah, Benson? Hi guys. Yeah, this is Benson from OKX Ventures, and thanks Naveen for having me here to talk together with some qualified projects like Alchemy, IME, and Neo about our insights on Web3. And actually, prior to Blockchain Ventures, I joined OKX more than 4 years ago and spent the first 2 years responsible for the token listing things of OKX, and then switched to the venture arm of OKX. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I love that name, OKX. And it's like, everything is okay. with Expector.
Yeah.
Awesome. With that, with the round of introduction, let's start with, in fact, let me introduce myself quickly. I'm Navin Reddy. I'm a software developer, YouTuber, tech lover, and currently moving towards blockchain, exploring different blockchains. I mean, Neo is one of them, primarily focused on private blockchains. Yeah, that's about me. And I'm excited for this discussion because the questions are my questions. I want to know all this thing from the leaders. So we'll start with the first one with you, Alex. I mean, everyone talks about Web3, right? And then some people don't like this term Web3. They are more towards decentralized internet or blockchain. So basically, what is a problem we are trying to solve? I mean, of course, with every new technology, we have some target audience or some target solutions or problems. What problem we are trying to solve here with Web3?
Personally, I see several problems we have now, and I hope that Web3 can solve these problems. First of all, it's our digital identity. Right now, we don't own our digital identity. It's my personal opinion. We just don't own it, and we have a lot of information and records on different sites, and all the companies that own these records own data about us. We can delete and control how our information is stored and which companies use that data. And the Web3 just solves this problem, should solve this problem. And it will help bring control all the digital identity back to the owner, to me or to you. Another problem is right now, websites and services don't connect to each other well into words. So Web3 connects sites and services much better. And right now, most of the sites and services that we have been they're separated from each other. So that's the second problem. And for me also, doing something on internet, we don't know how it's recorded and where it's stored, and essentially we have no control over our data that we enter. We also don't know how it's stored and where it's stored and how it will be transmitted and to whom it will be transmitted in the future. That's problem number 3. And also, and it's very hot topic now, it's freedom of speech. Right now, the freedom of correspondence and freedom of expression, freedom of our words from censorship is weak. And Web3, I hope, will add more democracy and the ability to let freely express your beliefs, your ideas across the net without worrying that someone might censor or distort your opinion, ban it, or ban your profile somewhere, etc. And with IME, we can help Web3 to develop because we have wallet connect integration with our application. So with this integration, it's very easy to connect IME wallet to any of website which supports Web3. So right now we have, I think, about 10,000 websites in the internet which supports Web3, and with Wallet Connect integration, you can connect IME wallet with any of these sites.
Awesome. So just to summarize, what you are targeting is digital identity, transparency, and freedom, right? There should not be any censorship on the content which we share. Awesome. Great. Steven, you want to add something there? Or anything you feel should not be a part of Web3, which should not be a target of Web3?
I think for me, what we are trying to solve in Web3 is the data ownership and also the decentralization. Like we experienced a very long time Web2 from the Facebook, Google, WeChat, Twitter, all these kind of Web2 products. But these applications have huge problem in the centralized service and also the data privacy issues. And in Web3, we can have very decentralized protocols, and people can control all of their data by themselves and their privacies. And also because the ownership of the data, people can be have incentive to contribute to the platform to the blockchain itself, to their communities, like by contributing the computing resource, programming code, and also artist work, NFTs. And this is a great way to have some incentives to join the co-Web3 communities.
Awesome,
Okay,
awesome. So ultimately, the point comes down to that data ownership, right? So as a user, we want to own our data, not these companies where they have all this data centralized, and we are not sure how they are using our data, right? Alex also took out that point. Awesome. Carmen?
Yeah, I think just to reiterate on, what both Stephen and Alex said, I think if the first version of Web 1 being the internet was read-only, the second, Web 2 is really allowing us to upload our everyday lives, at what everyone's doing, uploading on Instagram, Facebook, and now TikTok, which I'm also really into. Web 3 is where we get to own these outcomes, right? And take them with us. So instead of the tech giants really making money from data, blockchain really provides an opportunity for individuals to control and own their platforms on distributed technology. And a really good example I like is the evolution of content platforms. So looking into the distribution era and, how we used to have Medium, and then moving on to the subscription era where we have Spotify and Substack as examples. And now moving on to the ownership era where we have Mirror as an example. So, you'll see this in different areas such as DeFi, gaming, and NFTs, but predominantly is, ownership. I still think we have a long way to go, and there's many projects being built, and we can talk a bit more about that later. But yeah, it's exciting space. It's given the people the power back.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So, I mean, I can find one common thing, which is data ownership, right? So I'm a big fan of that concept where we want to own our data. Great, Benson?
Yeah. I think actually the current Web2 incumbents all built with the open source standard that originated from Web 1, like the HTTP for the hyperlinks, TCP/IP for the data transfer. And but later on, they all switched into some closed ecosystems with permission-only participants to bootstrap the social connection and the content creation, like Twitter, Facebook, you just mentioned it before. But to some extent, I think this do bring some great benefits for the startups to do the user discovery and code launch. It is much easier for them to build in exchange for giving up part of the control on their project. But I think this should be taken as an expensive tax on innovation, because many talented teams will drain out before they even got the chance to prove themselves, prove them ideas, because the monopoly platform owners extract like more than 30% of the revenue and the rent from them. So we can actually look on gaming industry as an example. The first mobile game was released, the Snakes were preloaded on Nokia in 1997. But the mobile game industry did not really take off 10 years later when the iPhone original was released to the market, as well as the App Store come to the market, which should be taken as a quasi-permissionless platform. So I think Web3 is trying to build the next generation of open source network. It will let the customer, rather than the rent seekers, have sovereignty of their on-chain behavior, no matter for the data or transaction history, and let the content creators have sovereignty of their precious original contributions. So you don't need to be authorized by some Web2 giants to interact with some on-chain protocols or to exchange the value with the contracts or peer-to-peer. So, and there are still some business entities that will act as the interfaces to provide some convenient access or additional features. So all this is just help to relieve the constraint on innovations, which will provide more alternatives to the customers as well as developers.
Right. And I can relate with that, Benson, when you mentioned about the content creators, when as a content creator on YouTube and different platforms, and I want that, right? So when I create content, I don't have to take a permission from some other companies to authorize my work, right? I should be able to sign my own work. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I can relate with that. Great. I mean, after whatever you mentioned, from all the panelists, one thing is for sure that we need blockchain technology for sure. It doesn't matter in one. It's not like it's only for cryptocurrencies or DeFi or for games. I think it is applicable for all the industries, for content creators, for hospitals, for supply chain. And when we know that if Web3 and blockchain is so important, why it is taking so much of time to go for the adoption? I mean, why? I mean, think about Bitcoin, came in 2009. Now it's almost been 13 years, and slowly and steadily other companies are adopting it, and they are trying to find some POCs, they're trying to build some applications. So my question is why the adoption is so slow? So let's start with you, Carmen.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the leading cause of slow Web3 adoption is the gap between fiat and crypto. Where cryptocurrency is the key to the entrance of Web3 services and products. And here at Alchemy Pay, we're really trying to help drive this adoption of Web3. One of our new solutions includes our crypto on-ramps, which basically provides everyday users with direct mainstream access to Web3 and DeFi services. Initially purchasing and moving funds into the metaverse virtual world and other NFT marketplaces and other decentralized applications, it can be quite overwhelming for newcomers and for people who aren't familiar with the space, having to set up an account with an exchange, depositing funds, making a trade, like downloading a Web3 wallet, transferring crypto to it, and then connecting with a Web3 service. Like, these are only just some of the steps that need to be navigated in order to participate in blockchain apps and platforms. And, I think it really is just about simplicity. Our enterprise crypto on-ramp solutions are basically integrated very easily as direct or customizable plugins for Web3 services. Alchemy Pay will be launching our D2C on-ramp plugin on our new website in Q2 so that everyone can use this to purchase crypto using these mainstream fiat payment channels. So it'd be quite straightforward. And so we're really excited about that. But, really a final point I'd also like to make is that, change is always difficult to see, and encouraging change and being the early adopters and trying to bring everyone on board can be hard. And so to see the industry expand, we should really be showcasing our products and services in a simple and digestible manner, but also provide a more user-friendly experience so that when people take their first steps to participate, is easier. So I'd say kind of improving UI UX is really critical. And yeah, like I said, really trying to bridge that gap between fiat and crypto, which is where we're trying to do from a payments-based perspective.
Right. In fact, when you started talking about the simplicity stuff, and if you want to work with wallets, there are so many steps to follow. I was just thinking about UI UX. How can we improve that? That's great. So at least for the developers and companies, they can focus on UI UX and how can we make it simple for the users to use it. That would help. Benson, what do you think? Anything else you want to add there? We can't hear you if you're saying something. Maybe something wrong. Maybe Alex, you can start.
Yeah. Yes, I see three different problems with the speed of this process. First of all, it's mass adoption of crypto. I think the complexity of how to start using all these blockchain technologies and crypto wallets, etc., it's a problem for the mainstream community, and that's why we got the idea to develop IME, to develop a very simple, very native way to use crypto in the messenger. Another problem is inertia of traditional banking system and traditional gaming system and traditional information system, because all these companies do not want to evolve. And regarding Web 3.0, Web 3.0, it's a problem of where resources are stored. Right now, all gaming companies own resources of users, and I think that's not right. And when we are moving to another reality, I hope that all resources will be the property of users. That's the second part, the inertia. And the third problem is the complexity of development. And I can tell you that that's really hard to develop something really big and something really cool. It took us more than 1 year to build our application. So I think we have very good speed. The overall speed is good, but we just need to wait.
That's right. And I can see that problem with most of the companies. They have these ideas, but then it's difficult to implement in the Web3 space because we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough content, we don't have enough idea. In fact, we do have ideas, but then difficult to implement because of lack of resource. Right. So maybe if we can speed up the development time, it should help. Great. Stephen?
Okay, I think I can, from some developers' point of view, why there's low adoption of Web3. Like, the first point is due to the low TPS and the low infrastructure layer, because currently, although there are some blockchains say they have like tens of thousands of TPS and they're very quickly compared with the Web2 product, but actually there's still very big gap between it. And also it influences user experience a lot. The other one is the user experience based on the transaction sending. In the Web2 product, you can send any message or send any transaction directly to the internet. But in the crypto world, you have to install the wallet and pay gas for that. And also you have to do the signature. These kind of things makes the gap for the traditional Web2 users to enter this crypto world. So nowadays, I think most of the public blockchains and some infrastructure layer tools are trying to increase these utilities and improve it. I think this will be getting better later. Okay.
Right. So we are slowly getting better, right? As I mentioned, maybe we are directly trying to compare Web 2 and Web3, where we are trying to solve the Web 2 problems. Example, you mentioned about the transactions, right? The number of transactions in Web 2 is so fast, and then we are trying to compete with that in Web 3. And one thing you mentioned about the transaction cost, every time you send a message, hey, hi, good morning, 2 messages, 2 different transactions, you have to pay 2 different gas fees. Yeah, that's one of the problem for the slow adoption. Great. So maybe we should all work together, right? It's all about ecosystem, because I was working on some other projects before blockchain, and then I realized it's not just about one person or one entity. It's about the ecosystem, starting from the company objective, developers, VCs, users. They all come together to build a technology or to speed up the technology. So what do you think? How can we speed up? Maybe if we can combine developers perspective, or maybe VC perspective, or company perspective, or government perspective, because in some countries, government is not supporting blockchain or cryptocurrencies. So what individually all these entities, or maybe collaboratively, all these entities can improve to speed up development? Let's start with you, Benson. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Yes, Benson.
Yeah. From the VC part, I think the most attractive responsibility for crypto VC is to identify the technical pieces of Web3 industry and help these companies fix the gap by providing some critical service and then provide support to let it scale in the later stage. So it will be incredibly better if they can even jump up from the crypto native to the general tech like NFT these days. And also, we think DAOs would eventually become the mainstream, and the Web3 projects should learn how to be well-governed in the form of DAO to let the talents find their roles in the entity and coordinate together to bring benefits to the projects. But the people these days has always been talking about how hard it is to manage the DAO with the same team size to a conventional entity, because you have to think about what kind of decisions shall be voted and what others can be unilaterally decided, and how to pick the coalition team or the executive member that can fully represent the respected opinions expressed by the community members. And I think for the developers that are diving in a permissionless world, they should also take care that actually the most tolerant environment will eventually lead to the most intolerant terrain. And we can take a look at Filecoin. Filecoin provided no anonymity for the node operators. So any users be aware of the abusive content can report the node operators. And the Filecoin officially also charges the termination fees as a financial incentivize to prevent the miners from accepting the storage that might contain something have to be removed in the future. So for me to sum it up, I think we could add some mid-layer or moderation layer on top of the underlying blockchain, which is a pen only and a censorship resistant. We all know that, right? And the community and the service provider miners could be the validating node on it. I think in this way, we can make Web3 more acceptable for the non-crypto users, as well as more compliable with the local government regulations.
Awesome, awesome. And when you talked about the layers, I mean, maybe there's a gap between developers and VCs and companies which we can also fill up, right? Where everyone understands the perspective they are working towards, right? So maybe that thing we can do. How about you, Steven?
I think I quite agree with what Benson said. I think because most of the apps are interacting with the blockchain themselves, but most of the apps are very difficult to maintain some nodes, to maintain some basic layer service. They prefer to use some like node service or some third-party service, but it's very easy to lead to a single point failure, like the inferior did some several nodes shut down in last year, and also I think Solana experienced some nodes down this year. So what we need from the developer point of view for leading the low adoption, like to increase the quick adoption, I think building some middleware layer and to have some decentralized high performance service layer for the developer or for the dApps is it's a great way to improve it.
Awesome. That was a pure developer perspective, Steven. Carmen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously every area has their own focus. I think firstly, blockchain companies need to really focus on bringing value to the everyday user instead of these like never seen before functionalities. Adoption really takes place when people, when the mainstream use a new piece of technology because it adds value to them, right? Not because it's an amazing piece of technology. It's all about meeting people where they are today and obviously understanding human behaviors. I think for people, it takes a long time to accept a new idea and make it the norm, or before they even want to participate. So everyone has their part to play. And once we have determined that correct direction to move towards, for example, say for VCs, I agree with Benson, they have a huge role to play. They can kind of widen their horizon to look at innovative blockchain projects who focus on these directions. And they can also help companies with hiring and getting the best quality of talent on board. We've already seen like an influx of developers entering the blockchain and crypto space. So the more developers working in the space, the more quickly we'll have better products. And developers themselves need to obviously ensure that their services render no compromise when it comes to security and optimal UI, UX, which we spoke about. Other payment players like ourselves at Alchemy Pay, we're really trying to focus on bridging the gap between, the real fiat world and the crypto world. And then obviously the government, I guess they can provide a more friendly regulatory landscape, or sandboxes for Web3 developers to really flourish. And, just to talk about the experience for users engaging with the Web3, right now, like engaging with Web3 for a user, it takes a lot more responsibility when using the internet. And much of crypto kind of reverses what Web2 had initially trained people to expect and feel comfortable with. I mean, if you think about how easy it was to log on to, apps on your phone, just via face recognition. Like you don't even have to enter a password. Whereas now with a lot of Web3 applications, they're often very siloed experiences. It's quite security intensive rather than user friendly. We often require users to navigate very complex processes with little education and instructions. So I guess like the key part of the solution is really accessibility for the everyday user, which would result in more simplicity and intuitive design.
Okay, great. So basically, when you talk about the problems faced by different entities, right? I mean, we had a visa perspective, we had a developer's perspective, and then you mentioned about the use cases, right? I mean, I can see with new technology, we are trying to find new use cases to solve that. And then, as I mentioned, maybe it's time to solve the problem faced by the people and build solutions on that instead of finding new technology to solve it. Great. Alex, your perspective?
I totally agree with Carmen and the previous speakers. They explained quite well, and I just wanted to mention that when we do something with Web3 technologies, we should remember that we do it for mainstream community, for not for only crypto geeks and professionals. We should build something for normal people, for newbies in crypto. So the design should be really user-friendly. It should be very safe. It should be very easy to use and very simple to use. That's why in IME we implemented our way how to build the application. We call it use to learn. So we offer this way to start with crypto. People just use our application and they are starting to learn how things are working inside and what and which features they need and how they can use this application on daily basis.
Okay, so it's mostly, let's try to make things simple, right? So that everyone can use it and build it for the general public so that everyone can join and they can speed up the process. Awesome. Now with this, we have so many people, they are either supporting blockchain technologies or Web3, or they are against these technologies. For supporting Web3 or blockchain, we have so many reasons, right? And in fact, we are discussing those reasons here as well. But there's one thing which people do care about the environment when they talk about blockchain technologies or Web3 in general. When we move all the services from Web2 to Web3, and to process them, we need some protocols, right? For the miners, and one of it is proof of work. And proof of work is very important protocol, right? Bitcoin is still using it. And the problem with that, it affects the environment. What is your perspective on that? Is it really that much of concerning that if proof of work is affecting the environment a lot? Do we have an alternative? We have some alternatives, but do you think they will have a good future? And what's the future of POW? Maybe we can start with Steven.
You mean the future of the miner, like the miners on Bitcoin? Or
no, the consensus protocol POW. Do you think it should be replaced in all the blockchains, or does it still have a future?
You mean the POW, the proof of work?
Proof of work, yeah.
Personally, I'm not a fan of proof of work. I think the first point is it's very energy consuming, because for the Bitcoin miners, they have to consume a lot of electricity powers, and I think nowadays a lot of countries are buying it, right? The second point for me is because I work for NEO for a lot of years. I think like the BFT related consensus algorithm is much better than the POW. It can bring higher TPS and have very good governance models. And even like for Ethereum, they are migrating from the proof of work to POS as well. So from my point of view, I'm not a fan of proof of work. I prefer like the BFT or the stake-based governance and consensus protocol.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I mean, I'm in support of you, Steven. Not a big fan of POW as well. Anyone want to add some point there? Carmen, Alex, Benson, support or against POW?
I'm not against proof of work. I just want that miners shouldn't forget about our environment. But in general, I don't see any bad things in proof of work. It's a very good consensus mechanism, the best one we have right now. We don't have a proof of stake on Ethereum. This currently, probably this year we will see something, but nobody knows. And regarding proof of work comparison with like it's bad for environment, I can say that cars and airplanes are also very bad for environment, but it's not it would be a strange idea to ban all these transportation means. So proof of work is first and the best consensus protocol our planet ever had. Probably we will see something better in the future, but right now we don't have it.
Great.
Yeah, I agree. I think we got to start somewhere, right? I think even the other proof mechanisms that also exist are quite, are less resource intensive, but they also have their own drawbacks and flaws, such as, proof of stake or proof of burn. So I guess without a proof mechanism, the network and the data stored within it would, be vulnerable to attack.
Great. And Benson, anything on that?
I think to some extent, I will support the POW of Bitcoin because nowadays Bitcoin market cap still take around 40% of the market share. And as the very first experiment of cryptocurrency, the consensus is most overwhelmingly met of the world. So, and also when people talk about Bitcoin is wasting some energy and do some damage to the environment, we should also notice that in many areas, the Bitcoin minings, they are using some energies that is not used by other industries. For example, in China, most of the mining are using the hydropower, which is very abundant in China. Yeah, and as the one of the last POW tokens, I think we should stick to the last hope, I think.
Cool. I mean, I didn't know that. We are using some other sources as well for the powering the POW mechanism. That's great. I mean, yes. Again, personally, I'm not a big fan of POW because it is affecting the environment. But then also, as you mentioned, when we look at the other alternatives or the other options, example, when you talk about, Alex, when you mentioned about cars and aeroplanes, they are also affecting the environment. That's also right. And plus, when we have cryptocurrencies, which is replacing the banking system, even the banking system, they consume so much of energy, right, for all the transactions.
Much more.
But yes, yeah, much more compared to what is happening now. But yes, if you can find a better alternative, as Ethereum is moving towards POS, again, they will also do some stress testing on that. Will it surely work or not? But yes, POW looks good, but then let's see if we can find some alternative. I mean, this is the first time I've got a different perspective on POW because most of the time we are against POW in most of the discussion. That's great. With that, I have the future of Web3. I mean, of course, we have different implementation of Web3. We, as I mentioned, we can use it in different industry. But one industry or one specific use case is getting a lot of hype, which is metaverse, right? I mean, just after that announcement from Facebook, they're moving from Facebook to Meta. Most of the industry's audience, I mean, normal users, developers, they are concerned about how they can contribute to the metaverse. So my question to you is specifically the blockchain technology, because metaverse itself it's so huge, right? We have so many technologies there. So what is the role of Web3 in metaverse? We'll start with you, Steven.
Okay. I think from last year, I think everyone surrounding me are discussing the metaverse. I think when I first heard about metaverse, the the first movie comes into my mind is the Ready Player One. I think there was a word called OSS, and which is the metaverse in that movie. And the problem of OSS in that movie is it's very centralized and it's controlled by a single company. So from my point of view, if a metaverse is controlled by one or several large company, it's not a metaverse, it's just some Web2 technology with some 3D effect. So for the nowadays metaverse, I think it has to be connected with the Web3. It's a digital economy and with some open source and the decentralized protocols. So also combined with some virtual technology to bring the real world assets and the real world events to the metaverse. And it can be running on several platforms, like on different blockchains, but it can be connected with each other based on the inter cross-chain bridge. And also the stores, the shops, or the platforms can be connected by each other, and the values can be transferred by using like NFTs. That's the role of Web3 in metaverse.
Awesome. Carmen?
Yeah, no, I agree with Stephen. I think firstly, we should really dissect the definition of Web3 and the metaverse. I think Web3 is, mainly about who will own and control tomorrow's internet. And the metaverse centers kind of on how users will experience the internet of the future. In terms of Web3 and the metaverse, I don't think the two are yet intrinsically linked, and it will take time until the two terms are synonymous. There is a lot of building still yet to be done. And I think, you mentioned the metaverse earlier. I think it's, that's not even going to be exclusively going to be built on blockchain. And sorry, you mentioned Meta earlier on, the Facebook Meta, one of, the biggest authorities in Web 2. This is at the heart of the current mainstream excitement about the metaverse. So if it's just going to be, centralized, then I'm not quite sure how the two are going to be intrinsically linked. And the blockchain played to earn gaming, user-generated content, new kinds of jobs popping up, cryptocurrency economics. I think all of these are steps on the way to developing a new metaverse. I think the progress of it is happening at different rates in different places, both on and off blockchain. And, obviously some projects are going to fail. It's going to be sort of like survival of the fittest in a way. And so, yeah, like as a result, is most likely that the sum total of numerous different companies working in different spaces on different projects. And I guess most of, today's metaverses are gaming platforms where, teenagers usually on. If the concept takes, off the way that we think it will, it could really transform the way that we all work, socialize, and communicate online. So instead of talking to our co-workers through a video conferencing service such as Zoom, we're also Zoom fatigue now, and I know we're on Zoom right now, but, for example, you might have like a VR headset and engage with avatars in a virtual space. And instead of, chatting on Facebook Messenger or text, like you could all meet up in the crowd of a virtual music festival where you have real life, musicians performing as digital avatars. So it's really exciting to think about where we could be, but I think there's still no guarantees of where these developments will take place, whether using decentralized blockchain networks or Web 2 style centralization. So still very early days, but it's exciting. It's an exciting place to be in.
Yeah, that's right. And also different companies have a different vision for metaverse, right? Some people are focusing on different use cases. Maybe we have to come up to a standard. This is how you can define metaverse. Awesome. Benson?
I agree with you that actually metaverse is generating all hypes, huge hypes these days, and there are huge premium in the initial marketplace, especially. And it's good to see that actually the bubbles are now bursting these days. But still, there are many famous influencers or the institutions are trying to give their definitions of metaverse. But no one has been overwhelmingly made the consensus, but it's okay because the early stage definitions will always be swayed as metaverse evolves in the future. but still we can extract several fundamental phases as the guideline of it. For example, the digital ownership, the interoperability, the composability, rich synchronized and immersive experience in the form of 2D, 3D, or even non-graphic ways. So I think Web3 will act as the backend infrastructure to realize all these visions. And to better understand it, I think we can divide it into two layers: the decentralization layer and the discovery layer. The decentralization layer includes the layer 1 public chain, the layer 2 solutions, and the cross-chain bridge to provide a decentralized, interoperable execution environment for the metaverse user experience. And there are also some middleware solutions like Pocket Network, Alchemy, IME, or Mask Network to play the role that are similar to the SaaS in conventional industry, which are more helpful for us to help bridge the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 and make Web 3 more user and developer friendly. And for discovery layer, I think it is where the customers experience the interconnectivity. And for example, there exists the DeFi to shape the financial structure of the metaverse, NFT to enable the digital property ownership and transfer the content between each other. I think there are also some segments that span over both layers. For example, the AI, the edge computing. Just all that being said, I think Web3 just forms the basic elements of the metaverse.
Right. I mean, those are the terms we are looking for, right? When we have multiple technologies, like you mentioned about edge computing, and when Carmen mentioned about the avatars, right? So we have AR, VR, AI, Web3, I mean, blockchain in general. And then when we have all this technology comes together to build one thing, which is metaverse. It's not just about one technology, great. And then we have to fill that gap. Alex?
I just wanted to add that it's important to have a decentralized identity in metaverse, because if we want this universe to be interoperable, we cannot allow ourselves to have a different identity depending on the world we enter, as it's currently with the internet we have. And also, for me, it's important to have decentralized storage, because for metaverse to be interoperable, open, and have no downtime or dependence on the load of the system, it must rely on decentralized infrastructure like IPFS or something else. Benson mentioned NFTs, their importance, and I also wanted to repeat that from my point of view, it's very important that owners of resources are people, are users of this metaverse, not like we have now when Meta or other company owns everything and controls everything. No, in metaverse, we need that users are the real owners of the property via NFTs or other technologies.
Right. So what I understood is Meta is more about the Facebook version of virtual reality, right? Where you're still controlled by Facebook. The data is still with them. So we are looking for a decentralized one where everyone will own their own data, right? And that's very important. Perfect. That's what we can add the Web3 technologies, where you can get your own identity and not having multiple profiles. That's very important. Not even fake profiles the way we have on Facebook. Awesome. Great. So, with all this talk, one thing is very clear, that the Web3 is the future. And yes, there are some drawbacks, and it is there with every new technology which comes up, right? It comes with some drawbacks, and then we try to find some solutions so that we can build almost perfect solution, right? Now, since we are motivating everyone so much, in the Web3 world, so what if someone wants to move from Web 2 to Web 3? So what is a learning curve they have to take care of? I mean, in terms of development, in terms of, let's say, as a VC or as an entrepreneur, what are the things they have to consider? So let's start with you, Benson. Just to repeat my question, if I'm into Web 2 world, I want to move to Web 3.
I think I will leave this question to the project developers. And from the VC side, I think we are more than happy to assist the entrepreneurs who are willing to branch into this niche and build some Web3 projects, as long as you show your ambitions and show your intention that you are 100% in it, and you are aiming for the long haul. And also, yeah, the narrative is charming enough that is okay for us to get on board and work together. We can do experiment, and the experiment can fail, but at least we can learn from it what works and what don't works.
That's right. With the early stages, experiments is always welcome. Great. Alex?
I wanted to recommend to educate yourself, because it's if you are a newbie in this field, it's better to educate yourself, because you're entering the huge universe, and it's necessary to have the knowledge. And the best way to get the knowledge is start to use it. So the better you start, the easier you start. But you shouldn't do errors. So you need to use proper instruments, proper software and hardware sometimes, and educate yourself. So read more and don't do errors.
That's right. It's not normal development where you
No
can
room for errors.
you can create bugs and then you can debug it. That's not what you do here. Great. Carmen?
Yeah, I think it's just about understanding where you're at now and where you want to be. Obviously, Web 2 is part of the real world that we're living in today. It's the fiat world. And, you know, at Alchemy Pay, we're looking at to gap that bridge. We're the bridge between the gap between the fiat and the crypto world. So, you know, if you're on the Web 2 and you want to move into Web 3, it's just understanding why is there a gap and what's happening then? What do you need? What are the differences? And I do think, you know, obviously crypto is a key to the entrance of Web 3 services and products. So just understanding, you know, how to get across that bridge, understanding, yeah, the differences between the two. And yeah, like Alex says, a lot of education.
That's right. And then when you talk about education, there's one thing, you know, we don't have enough resources available. So when I was shifting from Web 2 to Web 3, I was looking for so many resources. Yes, there are resources, but they are segregated. We don't have a standard content to follow. But yes, if you do experiments and if you can try to link different technologies, it will make sense. Steven?
Okay, I think so first of all, from my point of view, Web3 development is not that different with Web 2. I think we can still use a lot of Web 2 technology, including the backend service, the database, the cache, and the front end. And I think what you can start is the smart contract and also the different user experience, user interaction, because every DApp you build, you have to connect with wallet and to invoke contracts. So you have to learn how to use this new interaction model. And also for the smart contract, you have to learn some tricky things like how to avoid the security issues, because the most problem for the Web 2 developers is they create some simple smart contract but contains a lot of security issues, which will lead to a huge loss for their DApps users. So that's the most important thing for the Web 2 developers to learn. And the other things, I think it's not that difficult for the Web 2 developers.
That's right. That's right. In fact, we saw so many news, right? This application is getting hacked or that the app is getting hacked. So that's right. So whenever you make an application, make sure it is secure. Okay, don't just write a smart contract and you say, hey, I'm done. So make sure you're testing it properly. Make sure you are checking for all the security vulnerabilities. But one thing is for sure, as Steven mentioned, it's not that different. You know, the front end remains same. As a user, you are still using the same front end. Yeah, things which are changing from the backend, database still remains same. Languages is almost same. Example, if you're a Java developer, Python developer, JavaScript developer, you can still use those languages. Yes, what changes is the way you interact with the wallets, the way you get your identities. There's something you can learn more and educate yourself. Right? Awesome. Great. Anything you want to add from your experience, anyone? Your experience in your company, the product which you're building? Alex, the services which you provide in your app. I mean, of course, you mentioned about all the services.
Yes. I just wanted to say that using IME, our application, which we developed, it's very easy to start with Web3 and with Metaverse, because it's very easy to connect using Wallet Connect to any site which supports Web3. And we created IME as a very convenient and very useful tool for daily life for persons who are in the beginning of the process of exploring Metaverse and Web3 and normal crypto world. So it's better to start using it right now, because my personal feeling that the best model to understand something is start to use something. So use and learn. That's normally works fine.
That's right. I have a question for you, Steven. Can you talk about your journey from Web2 to Web3, how you learned about it?
Okay, I think I'm really from Web2 industry, and I learned it from the basic crypto knowledge, and I learned about Bitcoin, Ethereum, then EOS, NEO, and then I dive into the smart contract development, write some learning tutorials for the new developers, and then I began to build the apps by myself. Yeah, that's my learning curve. So generally, step by step, from the crypto to the smart contract to the apps, and also I play a lot of the new apps and gamified NFT projects. I think that's also a good point. If you have no idea, you don't know how to start building things, you just play it just to find new things, new apps in the crypto world. You will learn a lot.
Okay, awesome. So that's a thing, right? So learn from basics, go step by step, and build something. Great. So that was our discussion on the decentralized internet. Some awesome questions and awesome answers. I hope you enjoyed, everyone. And if you liked it, click on the like button. That's very important. Right? That's how we know that the panel discussion went well. So thank you so much, panel. That was an awesome discussion. I hope you also enjoyed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great chat.
And luck in the
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Lovely to meet you
Bye-bye.
all. Bye.
Bye.